Good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to the Somerset Levels. My name is Chris Sperring, Conservation Officer for the Hawk and Owl Trust. And if you've been to one of these shows before, our focus is, of course, is what you're seeing on the screen at the moment. That's the live barn owl cam that we have here. But we're not just going to be discussing the barn owls. We're going to do this in two halves. We've agreed, haven't we, Mark?
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have. So the first half is predominantly about the barn owls. We've got a story to tell, which is beginning to sound to me more like a soap opera than anything barn owl. Anyway, by the way, and when we get to the end, I'm going to see a little video about a story which involves tawny owls, but we're not going to conclude that until the second half. So what we'll do is start off with the owls now, then in the second half, back by popular demand, after finishing with the tawny owls, what we'll do is talk about some of the other amazing wildlife cams that the Hawk and Owl Trust have got going at the moment. And we'll also be doing, back by popular demand, barn owl pellet dissection. I've been asked to do it again. I did it last time and people said they missed it. Well, actually, can I just say about these videos that although it's live at the moment, you can watch again. All you've got to do is scroll back in time on the Facebook page and you can actually see these again completely. So let's start off with the barn owls. There we have, we're looking at the external shot there of the box. And as you can see, the box is numbered, so it's a part of our Adopt-a-Box scheme. The Adopt-a-Box scheme, for all the people that are interested out there, if you go to the Hawk and Owl Trust website, you will see, if you scroll along the top, there's a section there on Adopt-a-Box. And basically what happens is that we give adopters information about what goes on inside of the boxes. And obviously, the money that we raise from that goes towards our conservation effort, the ability for us to go out and visit farms, continually to give really good, solid, sound advice on how to get beautiful creatures like this back into the farmstead once again. And on the other side, you've got the three owlets there, which I was going to ring them tonight. So for all those of you who continually watch this and have been asking, when's he going to ring them? When is he going to ring them? I was going to ring them this evening, but I thought it was actually a bad idea to give them jewellery tonight because it takes a little while for them to get used to it. So we just wanted to do the live this evening, but early next week I will come back down and I will ring them. The thing about ringing, obviously, it's done under license. So I'm a licensed ringer through the British Trust for Ornithology, and essentially what that means is I put a numbered ring on their leg, and that ring is unique to that particular bird. Unfortunately, if we find the ring, it is normally the fact that the bird has succumbed somewhere. So we find out how far they've gone away from the nest, we find out how long they live, and we obviously then we find out what's led to their downfall, so to speak. But that's not always the case. I've got a wonderful record actually from the Somerset Levels, whereby a barn owlet that I rung turned up 7 years later. 7 years later, had travelled 243 kilometres and was still alive. It actually was trapped in a bird ringing group's mist net, and they obviously checked the ring off, let me know that they'd got this bird. So 7 years old, travelled all the way from Somerset. Where did it end up? A London park, believe it or not. So it probably had quite a few good breeding seasons there. That says two things, doesn't it? It says that it safely travelled all that distance, probably hugging the roads for a lot of the time, because of course the roadside verges tend to be very good for the prey it's trying to eat. But it also says a story as well about London parks, which must mean that they're managing them a lot more sympathetically for wildlife. If there's anybody watching from London and you know the parks there, it'd be great to hear from you this evening, wouldn't it, Mark? To find out exactly what's going on there and what's attracting the barn owls from Somerset to travel all that distance to set up and probably have successful nests in that particular area. So back to what you're watching on the screen. You've got 3 owlets there, and you can see them lovely lined up there. You see the oldest, the middle one, and then right down to the youngest. So when an owl lays it, when a female owl lays eggs, normally what she does is lay the first egg and begin incubation immediately. That's different to a lot of other birds, whereby the full clutch is laid, then incubation begins. So they're more or less hatching within the same few hours. With these, obviously, you can get 1 egg laid on 1 day, incubation begins. Then 2 days later, you might get the second egg laid. And I think that's the kind of way in which this pair does it, isn't it?
It is indeed. Yeah.
About 2 days apart. So what you're seeing there is owlets 2 days apart. Originally, this was a brood of 5. So we've lost 2. Now this is where the drama begins. Because of course, these 3 owlets are now part of a single parent regime. So it's really unusual as well, because normally when it's single parents, it tends to be the male that disappears. In this case, it wasn't. It was the female. And she disappeared right at the time when the 2 smallest ones were far too small to be fed by the male. So the male wouldn't do the necessary beak-to-beak feeding, but he could feed the other 3. And indeed, he's proved, as you'll gather later on, that he's quite a efficient hunter, I would say, wouldn't you, Mark? Pretty efficient.
Very good.
And he's brought these up all on his own from probably, I think it's May the 24th that she went missing. Yep. May the 24th that she's gone missing. So he's had a whole month of rearing these on his own. Now, what happened to the other 2? Well, there was obviously all the comments which got going at the time, and we got the call to go down and remove the 2 little ones and perhaps rear them. And obviously, if it wasn't for the camera, we'd never know what's happened. So effectively, if we'd have done that, problems may have begun for these particular 3, because the 2 that were left in there, the 2 that succumbed, were basically fed to the other 3. So, or the other 3 actually ate them. So that gave enough of a respite for the male to reorganize himself and get going. And from that time onwards, he's been able to catch more food. Now, you need to know about the background about where we are and what happened during the winter, and of course during the spring as well. And that was the fact that when we did the last live, we were talking about floods here. And I think it's fair to say that this particular nest site ended up a virtual island. Is that right? Yeah. So this particular nest site ended up as a virtual island. And of course, Mark's going to show you now a picture of some of the habitat that the owls hunt across. So most of this would have been underwater. It's now recovering. So the vole population will be going up. Now the double whammy for the voles, if you like, was the fact that as of course the water begins to subside, what happened was that our spring wasn't exactly warm. So grass growth was very much suppressed by those cold conditions. And there was a very funny message which went out, I think it was from the Met Office during May, which basically said that it had been one of the warmest Mays on record. Well, I had to message them and say, well, if it's one of the warmest Mays on record, then I must be ill, because I reckoned it was the coldest. And that was backed up by what was going on in my garden. So I can bring my garden into this now, because we were actually monitoring plant growth, and that was suppressed because the soil temperature was below what it should have been for May. So bring that back to the owls, and what you've got is a very slow build-up of the vole population. And obviously now, as we look around the sites here, you can actually get that feel that the grass has recovered, the vole population has begun recovering. It can recover very quickly if it's got the right conditions. You've got the potential of a female vole being able to give birth to between 4 and 6 young. Each one of those young that's a female is ready to be successfully mated within 21 days. You only need a few of those. You know, a lot of you are good mathematicians out there. You'll work out, given an acre of land, how quickly it takes to populate with the short-tailed vole, which is the primary food source for these barn owls down here on the Somerset levels. So with all that in place, the respite was needed, and of course the male then was able to start catching a much higher quantities of small mammals during the night time. And I think we've got a record, haven't we, of the amount in one night he actually caught. Wait for this. Single parent, mind. Single parent, single male. And on one night he brought in 19 prey items. I think that's absolutely marvellous. These young, no wonder they've grown so efficiently with a father like that around. But this story does not stop there. Now, with such a good audience watching these owls and these owlets, they are continually taking notes. And it's virtually 24-hour a day watching now, isn't it? It really is. It really is. So they know more about these owlets than I do. At the moment, what I'm doing is I'm visiting site after site, and I'm assessing what the season's been so far, which I'll talk about later on. But what they observed one evening, wait for it, was an intruder. Now, let's get Mark to put up a still picture of the intruder, because it's fascinating. There he is. It's a male. And if you look at the leg, what you can see on the left leg is a ring. Our male, or the male that's the father of these owlets, is unrung. And he's got a ring on the left leg. Do we know any left-handed ringers by any chance, Mark? Yes, pointing at me. Now, what we think is, and yes, it's part guesswork, but what we think is that this is actually one of the offspring from a previous year come back. And the interesting thing is that our fantastic people that continually watch also watched this particular bird come back with prey items and drop them, classic male, drop them into the box for the youngsters. So had it come back to help the male out. Isn't this fascinating? I know corvids do it. I know crows, jackdaws, rooks, they do it. I've actually witnessed swallows passing back over late over a particular farm where there was late young being reared, suddenly descend out of the sky, stop their journey and help the parents by continually feeding those young. So it happens. Does it happen in owls? Has anybody ever recorded it before? I'll put it out there. Has anybody recorded it before? We've got plenty of owl people watching this tonight. So that's what we think has actually happened. The other thing which kind of makes it go that way is the fact that the male, so the father of the owlets, actually tolerated this bird. So it must have been around quite close by in any case. Almost like it knew it. Now, the story doesn't stop there. So was he seen again? Was this ring bird seen again? No, he's gone. So he comes, he does his business, helps out for a bit, and he's gone. But then someone else turns up. Can we play that video? This is another male. And this is not the father of the owlets. Bit sheepish looking around and gets chased off by the father of the owlets, who's got prey. He then gets whacked off the platform by the intruder. Both are males. Fascinating. And now look in the box. You get the first view there of one of the owlets trying to look out. So back in the tree again. Now this male is not tolerated. There's a fight between the two. Boom, off you go. Now watch the box. Keep an eye on the box. What you should see. Oh! Boom! That looks like it's the intruder actually pushing out or trying to push out our male. But there in the background, you can see one of the young looking out there saying, "What the heck is going on out there?" So let's play it again. Yeah, we'll play it again. So there we are. Bird comes in. Now you can see there. You can see the wet. So this bird's been hunting in the wet grass. Gets a whack off. Probably drops the prey item and gets a whack from this intruding bird. So these two don't know each other. It's completely different to the ring. The behaviour is completely different to the ring bird. So what we see then coming back on the perch, I think, is our male. So the male of the father. Look, here it comes, coming up. Oh no, sorry, I went too fast then. Let's keep watching. There. See the wet, and then the clean male comes in and actually makes contact with him. So that must have hurt, actually. That was a full-on contact. And it does happen. I can remember many years ago at Shatwick Heath, there used to be a lovely place there called the Ruffit. The Ruffit is still there, but most of it's underwater at the moment. And there I can remember finding, or people finding and alerting me, and then me finding dead barn owls there, and I would actually wonder what had killed them, because they'd clearly been hit by something. And I took them to one of the best bird vets in the country at the time, wonderful guy, who was actually a veterinary surgeon in Portishead, where I live. And what we did was he did a full autopsy on it, and he said, "I found the problem." And what he found was holes in the actual breastbone and holes in the wing. And those holes actually matched perfectly with barn owl talons. So the barn owl had succumbed because of other barn owls. And so this type of thing obviously happens. Now with cameras, obviously, we're seeing much more happening than we could have done before. So for example, if we look at this particular site, we can see we've got a male barn owl bringing up 3 young on his own, perhaps with a bit of help from a past youngster now and again. But it's quite interesting because this year, because of cameras, it's not just one site that's only got one parent, it's 5 sites I've now recorded that have only got one parent. And the same thing has happened. But on all the other sites, it's the male that's gone missing, not the female. But with the reduction of the amount of food that's actually coming in, the brood size, and they've mostly started with 4 and 5s, have reduced down to 3s or 2s or 1s, and in one case, nothing. So she's lost everything. And that's just simply because of the amount of prey coming in. So how common this is only being revealed because of the wonderful ability to actually utilize these cameras in boxes. Brilliant stuff. Right, so looks like one of the younger ones there is actually playing with a bit of feather. Lots of head movement. You can really see the difference in them there, the amount of down on them. Looks like the one at the extreme left, the oldest one, is going to be a female. Lovely mascara there in the eye. Very dark body. Difficult to tell colour so much with these, and I think by now, with the amount of down that's floating around there, this camera must have got slightly dirty, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Nice bit of wing stretching there as well. So normally, Mark says that at this time of night, the male should be out hunting. So we are expecting a return to come back. Should we have a quick swing around and see if we can see him out there hunting? I was going to say there's something moving there in the background, but I think it's a cow.
Yeah.
Just having a look. Zooming in. Oh, that's good zooming. So some of that grass has actually been cut, hasn't it?
Yeah. I think there's cows there at the moment as well, grazing. So
one of the things I've been doing a lot of nest visiting on the Somerset levels, And wherever grass is being cut at the moment, red kites are turning up as if by magic. I had 4 in one field the other day. Looks like there's a good few midges out there as well. Just hold on there. Whoa, 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 whoa. If we can. Yep, just looking in the background. Just thought I saw something there. So on these lives, the owls obviously take precedent over anything else. Looks like we just had a corvid going, a couple of corvids going by. Oh, what we got there? Oh, it's the gulls.
Oh, it's gulls.
It's gulls, yes. Well, they're doing exactly what the kites would be doing. What they're doing is where the grass has been cut, so you have long grass that's been cut, the gulls are going around mopping up the voles. And so you'll find when you get cut grass, certainly around the Somerset levels, I'm not sure what it's like where you are viewing from, but when you get cut grass, you'll have buzzards, kestrels, gulls, corvids, all gathering normally just behind the mower, because obviously when you remove the grass, the voles are scattering everywhere, or obviously they've succumbed to the mower. So that's what the gulls will be doing there at the moment. I can't see him out this side hunting. Now he's got quite a big area to hunt in, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
So quite often he's out here, but he can obviously go behind as well. And I think what people are bound to ask, and I've got to try and answer it, is what happened to the female? Obviously, everything I say is pure speculation. But one thing is different from the male to the female. If the male goes missing, and I've had this on quite a few sites, it tends to be for periods of time, and then he suddenly reappears again. So, for example, if the male goes missing, the female will cope for a while. She's got the biggest drawback to the young owlets. So she's got that draw to come back to them constantly. So in the case of our female here that went missing, something has happened to her, and it'll be pure speculation. But she could have been run over on a local road. There's a railway system about... Oh, what's that on that post? Can't zoom in anymore, can you?
Which post am I looking at?
Just above there.
That's as far as I can go.
Okay. I can't make that out any more than that. Hopefully it'll get flying. So basically, as I said, pure speculation. Could be road casualty. There is a railway within a mile. Could be that. And obviously it could be predation. In other words, she drops down in the grass and something else catches her. Can happen. You can have all of those things. But I would say she's definitely succumbed to something rather than just gone off and not come back. Males, as I said, can do that for a while, but they generally come back unless something's happened to them as well. We've got any questions coming through?
None at the moment.
You are welcome to send questions in. This can be a question and answer session as well. Ah, what's that? Oh, no, that's another goal. Okay. No, I can't make out what that is. Very quiet out there. But it would be the rough grassland areas that we would be looking at, and we would see the owl floating over the top, hovering, perhaps diving down when it's heard something, seen something. Great habitat there. Superb habitat.
It does seem to be a lot of cut grass though, doesn't it?
Yes, but it seems to be intermixed with borders and ditch edges. So there, for example, if you look at that, got a lovely bit of rough there as well, where the cow is at the moment. A nice bit of rough there at the back as well. And once the grass is removed, it'll grow again quite quickly, and you should get voles expanding back out again. But this is a dilemma that they face. I'm sure that's the gulls. Yes, it's the gulls. This is a dilemma that they face every year with grass cutting, and this is why one of the things that we always say to farmers is, if possible, when you're cutting, particularly silage, if you can leave an edge, the width of the edge would depend dramatically on the size of the field, but an edge could be a lifesaver, a complete lifesaver for owlets. But there's a lovely bank there. Look at that. That's a mass expanse of bank. So that's leading towards the northwest of the site, and I know I've driven down quite close to there, and I know coming in that is all rough grassland all the way back to the next village. That bank, that's superbly managed. So there'll be plenty of voles there. Okay, should we go back to our owls again? Yes, they're starting to get fidgety. Nice bit of pouncing. Wonderful bit of behaviour there, pouncing. So this is a lot of practice goes on inside the box. They'll play pounce anything that moves in there, a moth or anything else.
Sorry, Chris, we did have a question from Sylvia Manuela. Hi, Chris, since this is a single parent situation, will Dad Barn Owl have to make adjustments from now on in with his owlets in the fledging process? What exactly is the fledging process for owls?
Oh, brilliant question. Well, normally it's I've observed the female actually returning with food, leading them off, and then dropping the food in the grass. Now he'll have to do that. He'll have to basically come back with food, get chased off by them once they're flying, and hopefully he'll just do it. Oh, you can see fluttering now in the box itself. So he will have to assume that role, so to speak. They can do it, and I think I alluded to this in a story with the last live, one from Portbury Dock that lost both its parents. Basically, we supplementary fed them under license, and so a different situation completely. There were no parents at all, and so basically when they came out, we were able to observe them having enough opportunity, enough time, and enough food as backup to begin. Oh, he's back! He's back. Let's go to him now. Lovely vole. Oh, that looks like a short-tailed vole. Looking for that lovely grey back. You see the short tail there as well. It's actually quite red on the back. There could be a bank vole. Difficult to tell with the colour system here. I'll call it a vole. I'll call it a vole. A classic male just goes in and passes it in, and he's going to be off again. Hang on a minute. Has that bird got a ring on? No, it's my imagination, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
My imagination. Sorry, folks. So that's definitely Dad then. Yeah, no. Thanks for the close up. That was very well timed. So that's Dad. So first prey item was in at 1959, 1958, 1959.
Yep.
How about that? So all those brilliant people that continue to watch that, they will have noted this, and they'll note every other prey item that comes in all night. How about that? And sometimes I'm told that this bird will actually go on hunting right through until 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, easily. Sometimes, I mean, when the chicks were first hatched, he was hunting pretty much most of the day.
Right. And that normally indicates food stress in itself. So that normally indicates that he hasn't got a choice. He's got to hunt. Because if he's hunting in the daytime, he's also hunting at night. So he's doing 2. And that's normally when problems start. So I used to be able to identify problems occurring by activity patterns and also prey coming in. So the amount of prey coming in, if it was much smaller prey items like shrews, then obviously you could say, well, they're having to hunt far more often to catch shrews to make up the weight loss from the voles that they couldn't catch for whatever reason, environmental reason, or weather related, etc. So he's giving a really good pose here, isn't he? This is brilliant. Wonderful.
So whilst we watch that, we have a couple of questions in.
Yeah, go. Sorry, I hope that answered your question. So I think it's a watching brief on what he's going to do. I think it'll be fascinating to watch. And as we've already surmised with this particular webcam, we may have learnt something quite significantly new in any case, unless someone comes in and says, yeah, they do it all the time.
So, Helen McLeod, one of our fantastic moderators.
Hi, Helen.
She says, hi Chris and Mark, good evening. Will the male know that the female is no longer around, or just assume that he keeps missing her?
That's yes, I understand where you're coming from, but that's kind of putting a human theme to it, and I'm not sure that they would think that way. I'm unsure how to answer it, simply because it would be difficult to get into their heads as to, do they miss something, a regular pattern, a regular bit of behaviour that's now suddenly missing. Well, the regular bit of behaviour that would be missing from the pair is pair bonding. So, and I would say that would be the thing that would keep him encouraged to go out hunting. But as we're seeing here, that's not the case. The thing that's keeping him going hunting is actually just the young. There he goes, flying by there. Oh, we just had a flyby. Let's see if Mark can catch him up. Sorry, Helen, I will come back to that and answer that properly, but we may have got him on camera flying around.
I think he's long gone.
Long gone. The gulls are coming up.
That's not him at the background there, is it? No, I don't think so.
No, I think that's the gulls coming up, isn't it? I wonder if they came up because of him. He's gone that way, hasn't he? Sorry, that way means nothing to the viewers. He's gone along the railings that you could see there when Mark had it there. And so he's heading straight down out, which is effectively behind us, so to speak. So he's hunting there. All right, so back to Helen's question, which is such a good question. I would say he would miss the behaviour, miss the bonding, but that doesn't seem to be stopping him from what he's doing, his draw to continually feed the youngsters here. And I mean, I'll go on from that and say that something that Mark asked right at the beginning, off air, so to speak, was that will the male find another female? Well, what we're already seeing is that there is a surplus of singletons around, unless of course those two have got nests somewhere else. So I'm talking about those two intruding males. So with any given population, there should be the breeders and the non-breeders. And it's always assumed that when, for example, and I've monitored this in tawny owls, that when one loses another, then the other one calls like crazy to get help, and a singleton comes in. And I monitored that with, I witnessed that with barn owls, again at Royal Portbury Dock in 1993. And it took a week for a male barn owl to replace another male barn owl that had been knocked down on the road. That's not happening here, but I would assume the whole available females are probably being, polite way of saying this, Mark?
I can't think of one.
No, nor can I. But basically, they're busy. They're busy. That's a good way of getting out of this. Is they're busy. So, that's not to say that once the breeding season over and distribution begins, that a female does not lock in with this male. Basically, we've seen he's trying to defend his area. We don't know how old this particular bird is. We're presuming the two other males that we're seeing here, we presume that they're both fairly young birds. So they may replace him. They know what's here and they know what's available. And if we're right that the one returning with the ring is not just familiar with the site, but is also the son of the father of these owlets as well, then who knows? That bird may take over here, and a new female may come in on that. Don't know, but I can only imagine that this male at the moment, well, he must be extremely tired already. So he's working very, very hard. And I've often wondered what the mortality of the males during the autumn must be pretty high once they've gone through all of this expensive energy, particularly if it's been a very poor vol year, because they've got to keep hunting. Hope that answers that, Helen. Sorry, it's a bit long-winded, but...
It's okay. We have many questions.
Okay.
Another question from Victoria Thorpe. She asks, hi Chris, have you seen such frequent prey deliveries when daddy barn has been lost and the female is left with the owlets?
Great question. The reverse, yes I have. But 19, it's going some. I can't think of a 19 that we've had before unless it's both parents bringing them back. So I think for me that would be a record. But it would depend on the availability of food. Now, something that Mark said, again, interesting off air, and I think this probably comes from Helen and her crew, who are continually watching these particular birds, is that it was noticeable when one of the males came in that the food dropped off quite dramatically. And it was suggested that could be competition. So this other male could be out there hunting. That may be the case. There's so much we don't know. So what I said to Mark off air is that this camera is great, Mark. What we need is more. We need one in that field, that field, that field, that field. In fact, we need to deck out the whole territory in cameras, so that basically then the people at home who are watching this can just push a button and go, yeah, I'll go to the field at the end. Maybe we'll get there someday. One day. That's a wish list. Thanks for the question. Oh, look, that's lovely. Look, it can hear me speaking, look. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. Lovely bit of head movement there. Judging distance.
So we have another question from North by Southwest. Do you think there could be a second brood from owls this year after a late start weather-wise?
Early start and reduction of brood. I've got a number of sites which I'm watching where the prey supply has gone up dramatically, and they're in the final throes of their first brood. So we're talking about first broods that started off as 4 and 5s, have gone down to 1, 2s, and you can see the prey building up by the side of nearly fledged young. And that's almost like an open invitation for the female to, once the young have gone, obviously, to recycle and go back down again. Second broods are never rule it out. I can always remember the Polden Hills, which are not very far from here. There was a nest site I followed very, very closely. Again, not with cameras, unfortunately. Cameras weren't invented then. Shows how old I am, doesn't it? But in one particular site, they had 11 young. So that was 5 on the first and 6 on the second brood. So anything's possible. Never give up. Never give up. Great questions.
So Mick asks, how will the male find another female after the young have fledged?
We've kind of answered that. Yeah. Yes, I would hope so. It depends on the availability of females. We know males are available here, but as I said before, it could be that most of the females are busy at the moment doing other things. So there's probably not a lot of give there. But as soon as distribution begins, then of course a new female could come in, and of course they can breed within the first year. So anything's possible. The point is, keep watching. You never know what's going to happen.
And Moser asks, hi Chris and Mark, what is the largest brood of the owlets that Chris has ringed in the UK?
Royal Portbury Dock, 1992, 9 eggs laid, 8 hatched, 8 I rung, 8 fledged.
Pretty impressive. That's it for the questions.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we need to wrap up this first half. There is a second half coming, but we need to wrap up this first half. So what we're going to do, first of all, is let's go to Sculthorpe Moor. We did this last time and it was great fun. Let's go marsh harrier watching. So this is the Hawk and Owl Trust's Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve. If this webcam is working, we know everything's working this end, but we had a trouble getting to it. It may not work.
It was working earlier today, but it seems to be down now.
Yeah, okay. Well, we know the wonderful folks over at Hawk and Owl Trust Sculthorpe Moor will be watching this, so they will obviously pick up the fact that this camera is not working. So, right, let's abandon that one for now, and let's move on to the allotment story.
The allotment story. Okay.
So we're going to start the second half with the second half of this particular story. But first of all, in the year 2020, when we were all going through the COVID, I got a call from an allotment very close to where I live for some help and advice. What happened was that they wanted to stop using rodenticides to remove small mammals. So that would be mice, which were affecting their produce, voles, bank voles in particular that would be, and of course brown rat. And what they wanted to use was something natural. So here is the first half of the video, and I'll show you the second half of this story when we come back after the break. So just watch this. put me back. I hope you enjoyed that. That was the first bit of the Tawny Owl story. The second bit I will tell in the second half. Hope you enjoyed the first half. Keep the questions coming through. We're going to go for a little break at the moment. For the throat, of course. Hope you enjoyed it. See you. We're back. Sorry about the video. Unfortunately, the allotment video played and we could hear the sound, but you couldn't. So I'll do a brief overview about what went on in the video. I'll do it as briefly as possible. So effectively in 2020, I was asked by a local allotment to go along. They wanted to stop using rodenticides to get rid of things that were eating their produce, like rats, mice, bank voles. And so basically what I did was I gave them some advice. When you were watching the video, that was me giving them some advice, talking to them, and using nature-based solutions. So we already established the fact that there was a buzzard hanging around there somewhere, and because I found a molted feather. And basically, I forgot to put my microphone on. Hey, we can use this in the outtakes. Hang on. So what I did was I agreed that we would put up a couple of tawny owl boxes in the neighbouring cemetery, which borders right on. So it had good mature trees that we could actually put up a couple of tawny owl boxes. And it took 4 years, but the picture you're looking at is me inspecting one of the boxes this year. And it's a non-intrusive way of inspecting a box. So there's no ladder up against the tree, which might mean the female comes out. We don't want that to happen. So basically it's a camera on a stalk with a very bendy camera, so I can bend it in any direction. Do you know what? These cameras, when they arrive, they come with instructions on the box which say, do not use for these reasons. And I won't go into that. So basically, I use this inspection camera and it goes in. And this is the picture I got. And what you can see there is the female brooding. What I can see is one owlet there. So if you look towards the front of the face of the female, what you can actually see is the down from quite a young owlet there. So success, great. So I knew they had one, but let's go on to the next picture. I also was able to observe from a location a little bit further away the female beginning to come off of brooding. So she would spend much more time in the entrance away from the young. So I knew they were nearly at branching stage. Now with tawny owls, they normally get to about 4 weeks of age when they start moving. So they start coming out of the box and they start going up the trees and branching, literally jumping branch to branch to branch. The trees are fairly close together here, so they should be safe, but I wanted to watch through this period as these are a very special pair of owls that had a very special job to do here. So next picture. And a future inspection I did before they actually branched, I obviously established the fact that they've got two. Now, two owlets in there, and once they start branching, so normally when you do nest recording, this would be it. This would be the record of the nest, so to speak. So you've recorded it, blah, blah, you put it down. But with this particular nest site, because it's fairly local to me, I could keep going back. And what I would do is go back when darkness arrived and just listen. And what I would be hearing is this. And that's the young calling. Now, in particular, once they've begun branching, so coming out, what I wanted to hear, because they're of slightly different ages, again, what we discussed in the first half of this program, because they lay their eggs at different intervals and incubate from the first egg laid, there would be a slight difference in sound. So it would be, if I was listening to two, it would be. Now you allow for distance, and you should be pretty accurate the fact that you're still counting two. So next picture. There is one of those owlets now out, branched, and safely able to climb around the trees. So the point is that if they were to fall down to the ground in the daytime, they're pretty vulnerable. But if there's a tree close by, what they will do is go straight to the trunk of the tree and literally climb back up. I'm sure you all realise that there's been a lot of tawny owlets taken into captivity over this spring. And most of the time, I don't really want to put a percentage on it, but I'd probably say something like 95% of the time it's not necessary. And that's basically because good, kind-hearted people have found an owlet on the ground and think it's abandoned. And what they'll do is pick it up, and it normally ends up at a rehab centre. And I started to get calls from our local rehab centres saying, we've got loads of tawny owls. So I think there's a thing that we must do next spring, which is an if you find me, leave me alone campaign, and explain to people that whilst it's good intention, what we actually need those owlets to do is to stay with their parents. So the best thing people can do is if you have to pick it up, just move it towards a tree and back off. If there are big dangers around, like for example, I had one example of 2 owlets which were found in the middle of a dual carriageway. Now you need to do something. It's pretty obvious you need to intervene then, or else they're going to lose their lives. But in most cases, these owlets have fallen down probably because of a spring shower, which has overweighted their down, and they've fallen down to the ground, and they just need to be moved closer to the trunk, back off, leave them alone, and up they will go once there's nobody watching them. So they can be vulnerable to predation, obviously, once they've fallen down, but in most cases they will normally sort themselves out, and the parents aren't very far away. They're probably watching, and in the daytime they probably won't do anything about it. But at night time, of course, as many wildlife photographers know, don't go near the young at night time, because you could get walloped by the parents. Some parent tawny owls can be very aggressive. They're not very aggressive during the egg laying stage or during the stage where, for example, they're brooding their young. They can obviously abandon their nests at those stage, but later on, once the young are a little bit older, they can be very aggressive. So let's have the next one. And the proof of the pudding is the fact that here we have this picture. All these pictures have been taken with my iPhone, not taken with a DSLR. But basically, this is a picture of an adult on a railings looking into the allotment and about to go hunting across the allotment. It worked. We've got tawny owls hunting across that particular allotment, and obviously helped with the withdrawal of rodenticides. They're not going to get poisoned if they collect any food around that particular area, and it's a nature-based solution which could work in so many of our urban suburban areas if we think about things a little bit more nature-based. There's another site where I live as well where we tried the same thing, and that was in we actually put those boxes up in 2022, and those have been used this year as well. So overall, I think this season has been very good for production of young tawny owls. Proof of the pudding, of course, is when you go back and you can still hear them at night. You can still hear those young ones calling, and it's a fairly easy thing to do. Keep yourself hidden if you know where they are. Don't let the parents know that you're there. Don't interfere with the normal behavior of the parents collecting food and going back to the young, but just listen out for those calls. Remember that call from the young ones. Okay, moving on. Let's move on to the next theme. What's our next theme? Let's go back to our owlets. Yes, so we had great excitement in the first half. We had our first prey delivery. Have we had another prey delivery whilst I've been talking so much?
Don't think so.
No. Okay, that's good. So we've had one prey delivery so far this evening. Whilst we were on the break, I had a good look around the area. I think I saw him, and I think he's hunting. If you go to a shot of the field again, and then go to the extreme left, if we go to the if we can go to the extreme left, I'm pretty sure, pretty distant, but he was up there. So he was exactly where your cursor was then. So he was right in the background here, hunting up on that bank that I was talking about with looked like lovely rough grass and there. So I'm pretty sure I saw him up there. But obviously once he disappears behind those trees, there's quite an expanse of rough grassland there as well. So we can go from there down across hunting as well. Now we did promise you we would look around the other webcams whilst we were here. And don't forget, we've not just got our Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve, our wonderful nature reserve in Norfolk. We've also got a brilliant nature reserve down here on the Somerset Levels, Hawke and Owl Trust Nature Reserve of Shatwick Moor. And for all those people that keep saying to me, when are you going to do the next walk? Well, there are walks going on every month. My next walk will be as soon as the pressure eases on nest checking. So I'll do my next walk, and that will be an evening walk. And we'll go looking for owls, bats, and glowworms. I really want to see glowworms on Shatwick Moor. I'm pretty sure we've got them somewhere. So we'll do that then. If you go to the Hawke and Owl Trust website, you'll see all the events on our website. And I believe there might be a glowworm walk coming up in Norfolk at Sculthorpe Moor. And that'll be very impressive glowworms. Very, very impressive. Lovely. So let's have a look around the webcams. Let's first of all go to you choose, Mark. I'll talk over it.
Let's go to Bath Peregrines.
Ah, Bath Peregrines. Okay.
Not much happening there.
Not much happening there. I think they've gone. But a wonderful Hamish Smith, who watches over this, has sent me reams and reams of information about the Bath Peregrines, which I cannot read out tonight. We haven't really got time, but there's wonderful. Also, he takes some wonderful videos of the peregrines there. Can you put it up? Here's some shots that Hamish got earlier. Let's go.
Sorry, what am I queuing up?
The young ones flapping around on the. Have you still got them?
The barn owl slides?
No, not barn owls. Peregrines.
Don't think I've got those.
Bath Peregrines.
Ah, hang on. Yes, I have. I apologise. Apologies for the adverts.
Yeah, sorry. This has been taken straight off YouTube, so we've got a little bit of an advert to go through. I don't know what he's saying. There we go. So that's the result for youngsters there. You can see one there tearing up at the back and the other one exercising. Wonderful. And they've all got identification rings on. We must really start thinking about doing this with the barn owls as well. It'll make life a lot easier down here. I'll ask the BTO, apply for a license for colour rigging project. See, again, it was interesting. I'll do a brief resume of what Hamish said in his notes to me, and that is that much like we're finding with the barn owls, what they're finding is that there's lots of sites where numbers of young have reduced, obviously not so here in Bath. And also, again, like the barn owls, what I'm finding with barn owls at the moment, Hamish has been finding the same thing with peregrines, in that they all seem to be laying and hatching at different intervals. And as Hamish suggests in the information that he sent through, he doesn't know how much of that is weather related. Well, we certainly know with the barn owls where the grass growth, and that wouldn't apply to these particular birds, but where the grass growth has been suppressed due to the weather, then we're certainly seeing some staggered evidence from the barn owls. And I imagine something very similar is going on here with the peregrines as well. So have we got another peregrine webcam we can go to?
We got the Norwich Cathedral peregrines.
Yep. So I know that the Norwich Cathedral peregrines had one young this year which fledged successfully, and obviously the last one I think has still got.
It's Kettering.
Oh, it's gone. Oh no, it's just at the edge. I can see its tail right at the bottom of the screen. I can just see a tail there. So this one had. This is the Kettering site. And this had 4 young as well, which were rung successfully. And I think when we looked in earlier, there was just one left that hadn't fledged. And I can just see the tail of... oh, you got one there?
That's one at the side, isn't
Oh, yeah. That's good observation there. So there's actually 2 there. So there's one at the bottom, the tail at the bottom, and there's one led down at the side of the tray there. Oh, no, there's another one. So that's 3. So that's 3. Excellent. And the other one stood up. The one you spotted is now stood up. So great success from the peregrine falcons this year. And as I've already said, same with the barn owls. Brood reductions at some sites, and obviously staggered laying over periods of time, probably caused by weather issues. Because again, I emphasise the fact that's a pretty cold spring. That's a lovely shot there of one there running around. Looks like they're getting ready to hunker down for the night. And again, for those of you that are interested in supporting the Hawk and Owl Trust, you can do so by different ways. And the obvious one is to join us, join the Hawk and Owl Trust, become a member, and again look at the website. Oh, well done, Mark! You're so good at this. And you can actually join on the website, and also look for if you want to support us by Adopt a Box scheme. Just run along the top and you'll find on a drop down menu the Adopt a Box project. You become an Adopt a Box member. You'll receive annual updates of what's happened in your box. It's a brilliant educational project. So if you've got a school group or anything like that that wants to get involved, get them to join, and they receive good educational information. And obviously the money that we raise through this particular scheme helps us and continues our work in the field when we go out and do a lot of our farming work, where we'll talk to landowners about helping birds of prey and owls. And if we're helping birds of prey and owls, who are of course the predators, we must be helping a lot else besides. Right. Well, I think we're getting to the point where we need to change tack completely. And we need this little camera going, because I did promise I would do, again, this is by public demand, owl pellet dissection again. Sorry, that's my microphone lead there. I'm just going to move that to the side. I'm going to do these dry. So what some people do is, for instance, put these in jam jars or whatever you've got, saucer of water, let them soak overnight, and effectively what happens is that the fur and the bones separate. So what you're looking at there in terms of the casing is, I'll just try and focus that a bit better. Yep, there. So what you're looking at there is the regurgitated remains of what the owls have eaten. And so the outer casing is fur, and then you can make out the bits of bone. For instance, you've got a bit of bone here. So, but I'm going to do these completely dry because we haven't got time to leave them overnight. That might be an awful lot of talking for me to get through that. So I'll do them dry. So the owl, as I said, regurgitated these, so they're the prey remains of what the owl cannot digest. If I just try and split that there. Oh, trying to get to a jaw already. Have you got a question you want me to?
I'm just saying, just hold it slightly towards the camera.
Oh yeah.
Off screen. I need
to watch. I need to look at the screen and do this at the same time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to head straight for skulls and jaws, and I've just, what you can see if I turn it that way, you can just see some incisors there. Can you see them just there? So the pellet actually comes from a site on the Mendip Hills, southern slope of the Mendip Hills, in a little parish called Westbury sub Mendip. Beautiful parish, lovely people, wonderful community group there who I've worked with since 1995. So I go there every year and help monitor their boxes, and they've got some adopter boxes as well. Sorry. Right, so there's a skull. So you can see the eye sockets And what I want to find out is exactly what this animal is. So I'm going to remove a jaw. I feel guilty doing this. And I'll try and turn that to the camera. Sorry, I'm a bit shaky. You really would not want me as your surgeon. So we've got a zigzag pattern in those molars there. So you've got, there's the incisor. Pretty impressive, eh? Then you've got a gap, and you got the molars there, and those are a zigzag pattern, not block. So I'm not looking at a mouse there or a rat. I'm looking at a vole. If I could look closer, if I could look closer.
One of the owlets is outside.
Oh, one of the owlets outside. Let's go to the owlet. The owlets always take precedence, so let's go to the outside view. I'll come back to my, oh, look at that. Ooh. Is that first time out?
No, he's been out for a couple of days now, just brief visits.
Very wary. And the others are looking up as well, which say, where have you gone? Perhaps I should follow. This is how it begins. See a lovely bit of head shaking. Eyes pulled quite close together. Beginning to settle now. Bit more relaxed. Scanning the area for any dangers. I think I'll ring these on Tuesday.
Sounds good.
That's a date. He's having a scratch in advance. So yeah, I've got full days ringing on Monday, so what I'll do is pop by late afternoon.
Okay.
We're just talking. Okay, let's go back to the, so that's great. So right, let's see if we can have a look at the skull. A whole skull. Oh, that's the bit I didn't want to do. Okay, so look at that there. And what you've got is the weakest point of the skull is the cranium, which protects the brain there. And one of the things that I've noticed by dissecting pellets is that in an experienced owl, that's normally the first point of impact, so to speak. So unlike your cat, who when it catches something, it plays with it, the owl can't afford to do that. It hasn't got time. We've got a second owl, I think, trying to jump out there. The owl can't afford to do that. It's got to immobilize it or dispatch the animal as fast as possible. They haven't got time. Time is energy. Energy is the difference between life or death. So normally you do find, if you find a cranium intact, you'll find it's got a hole in it, and that's normally where the talon's first gone through. So that's one prey item which I can put there. Okay, let's just quickly go through this pellet, see if there's another skull in there. Put that one to the side. So in some pellets, you will normally find between 3 and 5 items per pellet. So in this one, for example, this is a smaller animal. Let's try and see if we can have a look at this. So this is different. That's blocks. Can you see the blocks there in the molars at the back, not the zigzag pattern? So this is more than likely a wood mouse, and it's a smaller wood mouse. So it's quite interesting when you start studying the different proportions of the population which are actually being caught. So a nice bit of fur there as well. I'm gonna see if I can put that fur down. So for example, what do I mean by that? Well, it basically means that the most proportion of the population being caught at the moment should be adolescents. They're the ones who are most noisiest, so to speak, and therefore the owls can intercept them with their superior hearing. and of course that wonderful facial disc. If anybody's got any questions, by the way, do keep them coming. That's fine. I can do two things at once. Not.
We do have one question, not related to the pellets, but Archie Diggins asks, when the young are on the perch like that, can they be prey for other species?
Yes, they are vulnerable. And did you notice, Archie, when that owl came out, first of all, its eyes were quite close together like slits. As it settles, its eyes will begin to open, and it was kind of weaving very slowly. It was trying to take in its surroundings, but also very wary. You get that feeling straight away from them. It's very often it's difficult to explain. I was trying to do this in writing up about a year ago, trying to explain how I know, looking at an owl, how it's kind of feeling. And it's so difficult to explain it. I just know after all these years, if you look at something and it's kind of like a gut reaction or whatever, you go, yep, that bird's frightened, or that bird's happy, or and of course, sorry, back to the pellets. So we've got two prey items from that particular pellet. If you're enjoying me doing the owl pellets, for goodness sake, give me a like. It's quite hard work here. So, and obviously the beauty about doing owl pellets is not only do you learn more about what they eat, you also start your interest in owl conservation. And I think a lot of people that get involved with owl conservation, they start off with pellets. Understanding exactly what the owls are eating can lead you on to then look at how these small mammals actually live and what they need. And obviously when we talk about things like short-tailed voles, I think they should be labelled keystone species, because so many things want to eat them. And so we need more habitat for species like short-tailed voles. There's a wise man at Bristol University, a wise professor, once said to me that he estimated the population of short-tailed voles in the country to be over 80 million, potentially 80 million individuals. Clearly he doesn't know, he plucked it out of thin air. And then he turned around and looked me in the face and said, rare, aren't they? And he really meant it. And so, you know, these small mammals are just so important. We need to put them up on a pedestal, don't we, folks? Come on, let's have a like for all these small mammals that give themselves up in their thousands tonight all over the country to feed all these baby owlets. So I'll leave the other one. This is going to be special because the person that requested me doing this again is going to receive that owl pellet in the post. So it's Owl Pellet Fanatics. Right, we can come off of owl pellets now.
Okay.
And what we'll do is, if we go back to our... Oh, he's back. He's coming back. Quick, let's go back to the mean. Watch. Stand by. Here he comes. Get ready, get ready, get ready. Watch that head go. Watch that head go. Is he going to come in? Don't let me down now. Oh, yeah, look, he's coming from the behind. Yeah. Wow, that looks like a bank vault. Very much redder on the back, not the grey front. Lovely. Look at that. I wonder who's going to get fed first. I wonder what he's going to do. Look at the excitement. Look. And watch the feet. And the other young ones down below are thinking they should be out. Here comes the second one. Yes. You can do it. You can do it. Use your beak.
Paw number 3.
And is number 3 the oldest?
Certainly the most feathered.
Yeah. Slightly anticipation there from the bird at the front.
I assume you'd find eventually the bird that is least likely to go up to the entrance will get left behind on the prey items.
Yeah. I want a clearer view of that small mammal, actually. Who is... This is a dilemma for him. No longer does he drop it in. He's got to go and meet them. Wonderful. The other one's dropped back in. And of course the one in the box thinks it's got the food. This is a dilemma for the male. We're heading to a point where we're going to go past the phase where it just goes over and drops food in. What are you going to do? This is great. I can't hear any sound at all, but that must be quite loud. We don't know who got fed first time, do we? We don't know who got it.
No, I don't. I didn't notice. He's going to end up eating himself. Oh, there he goes.
Straightforward. Food pass. It does look like a bankroll. Male's off. Yeah, it's going to go down in one go. Here we go. Do, 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 do. Brilliant. It's what owls can do. So you saw me doing pellets earlier. Well, this is the beginning process. Swallowed whole. That was quite interesting because we actually saw the flight or the route of the flight coming in, didn't we? Yeah. And that's interesting. Okay, right. Need to do a few messages and I think we'll wrap up.
Okay.
So at 9 o'clock, when do we start? 7:30.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Any more questions before we finish?
None that I can see. Gemma Marsh just said that she's been saving some pellets from our bat-eating barn owl.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a look at those, Gemma.
And that's it for the questions.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we'll do a wrap up then. And basically, hope you enjoyed the evening. Don't forget, please support the Hawk and Owl Trust by either becoming a member, go to our website, or obviously adopt a box. Again, at the website, in the drop-down menu, you'll find membership and also our adopt a box scheme, which gives us the support we need to keep going. And don't forget also that we have 2 brilliant nature reserves, one in Norfolk, Sculthorpe Moor, and our other nature reserve here in the Somerset Levels, which is Shapwick Moor Nature Reserve. Exciting wildlife throughout, both of them. And only leaves me to say, Mark, thank you very much for all that you've done this evening. Let's give Mark a big hand. Come on, everybody. Give Mark a big hand. Lots of likes.
Always welcome.
Give him lots of likes. And for me, who's running out of voice completely.
You've managed to speak for
I actually
almost
think
2 hours quite well.
I think I've got a bit of owl pellet in my throat, actually. I really hope you've enjoyed it. We'll do more of these, and we'll try and broaden our subjects out to some of the other cameras that we've got. And who knows, one day we might actually get Mark to set up a camera in every single field so that we can just continually follow the owls. That's on the wish list. Anyway, from me, Chris Sperring, Conservation Officer of the Hawk and Owl Trust, I hope you've enjoyed this evening. Please give us lots of likes and lots of comments. Bye for now.